Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of season 4 of the Be a Boss Coaching Podcast. My name is Beatriz, or you can call me Bia, and this is the first solo episode that I've done in a very long time for this podcast. And I must say that coming back to the mic in this manner is making me a little bit nervous. And I am accepting of that, but that's where we're at right now. um, but I'm really excited to finally come back and do a solo episode. I used to love doing solo episodes when I, um, you know, first started this. And it was sort of like a moment to sit with myself, sit with my thoughts, and share with you what's been going on with me, and a special way to connect, uh, especially to this medium of podcasting, which I've always said is a medium for me that has always been very empowering, and because literally we take up space in the podcast world, and uh, just by sharing our thoughts and sharing our knowledge. So I'm really excited to be here with you all today. So welcome back to season 4. This is the third episode. If you haven't listened to the last 2 episodes, I suggest you go and listen to them. I feature the first one, the first episode that premiered earlier this season was with Chris Casares Neri. She is an intuitive coach and healer for soulpreneurs. And the second episode was with Dr. Janice Castro, who is a psychologist and also podcast host of her own podcast, the Latina ADHD podcast. And in both those episodes, if you have heard them, you know that we talked about expansion as a theme. And that is the theme for this season. And I'm excited to share why. So with this solo episode, what I really wanted to do and my intention for this episode for you today is to catch you up with what's been going on, but also share some tips for when you are in a situation that you didn't expect to be in, and how do we navigate that sort of situation or circumstance. And before I decided on the theme of expansion, it was I decided to do things a little bit differently with season 4, because I thought that telling people stories is great, but I wanted to tie it all together this season, where we all talk about a common theme, and to illustrate that expansion, whatever that looks like in our world, in entrepreneurship in particular, is that it looks different and it feels different for everybody. And at the time when I was thinking about this season, I was thinking about uh, this expansion, because it was a feeling that I had been having for a while. And I had a launch planned, and all of that was happening for me. I had a member website that I wanted to share, and was building out and was testing even, and I was really excited for it earlier this year. And it was just feeling like a lot of the work that I had put in to Be a Boss Coaching and testing this group program, and just the general coaching that I had already been doing with private one-on-one clients. I just felt like expansion was a big theme for me. And also I was seeing it in a lot of my community and peers and other coaches and other business owners as well. And I wanted to talk about what does expansion look like in your world, and how do you navigate it. Because if you are someone that is also thinking about starting your own business or have started your own business or in the in this phase or stage of your life where you really are taking steps towards creating something for yourself and creating a business and figuring out what that looks like for you, um, that feeling of expansion, sometimes you don't even think about it as expansion, but it is. It feels scary, and it's not always pleasant or joyous, as you may have heard or will hear in the next few episodes with my guests. Um, so that's the reason why I wanted to talk about what that means and looks like for us in business and in life. And it was fitting because this is something that I haven't officially shared, but I'm going to share here because, again, this podcast is really, it's meant a lot to me. It's This is the fourth season, and I started this back in 2022 or in 2025. So in those years that I've made this podcast, it's been a seasonal podcast, meaning it's not every single week, but when it is in season or when a new season is unfolding, it is weekly. Um, but I've learned so much from it, and I've built community with it, interviewed so many incredible guests, and hopefully there's a gaggle of listeners out there who are excited or listen or follow the podcast on a regular basis. But that, like I said, it's been a while since I've come on the mic and released this latest season. Season 3 ended last year. And so it's really been almost a year since the last season. And, but I wanted to come and share here today again because for season 3, my bad. For season 4, I really wanted to be intentional, but do it a little bit differently, where we kind of tie in all of the interviews together through a common theme. And again, I was very intentional with that. But then something unexpected happened, which is me getting pregnant, which is really weird to say that it was unexpected because we were actually planning for it and trying for about a year. And but the reason why I say it was unexpected, it was because it just happened at a time that we didn't expect it to happen, and also at a time when it was coupled with a layoff. So it was just a really big shift that we knew was coming, along with a shift that we had just experienced with my husband getting laid off earlier this year, in May. And that was just a lot of shift in our world, and something that we're still dealing with, right? Like he's we're still figuring out our next steps, and alongside knowing that a new baby is coming just around the corner. So, and this is why you probably, I don't know if you'll hear it after the editing, but I'm out of breath. And now when I talk and I facilitate groups or anything, or I'm having a virtual chat, or even if I'm just having a regular chat with somebody, I usually get out of breath. So you'll probably hear that, but if I do my job well and I can edit this well, and you probably won't hear it, but I am out of breath. It feels like the first time that I recorded my first solo episode, I remember how out of breath I was, and it was so surprising because I didn't expect for you to be talking and having a script and having a plan for your 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 episode, that you'd still run out of breath just simply by talking, but you do. And it's even, and obviously over the years and over time, it got much better. I got much better at it. But now things are different. My body is going through a lot of changes, growing a little baby. So literally my lungs have less room, and it's a very beautiful thing. So yeah, that's what's been happening with me, just to catch you up with what is going on in my world, navigating this pregnancy and thinking about the future, thinking about this new identity as a mom, and expanding my identities, right? Expanding who I am as a person, beyond entrepreneur and beyond wife, beyond daughter, beyond Latina and social worker and coach. It's now mom to be. And that has been a lot on my mind around expansion. And so I just feel like everything has come together very, uh, what's the word? Harmoniously, for me, in terms of what I had planned. And expansion has definitely been, things have been expanding, physically, and but also mentally and emotionally. I've had to find new capacities for energy, new capabilities, and how to navigate that and balance all of that, as I try to make sure I continue to listen to my body, which I've always done, but now it's like a different type. There's like more urgency for doing that for me, because I am trying to make sure I'm safe, right? Even running has been difficult, and running and listening to your body at the same time. How do you push yourself when you run, but also not hurt yourself in the process, and make sure that you're still safe for you and the baby? And so anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but so much has been going on. Pretty much that's been what's going on, and why I've been a little bit MIA, I must say, in social media and in general. But I am coming back. This podcast was one of the channels that I wanted to continue to honor, and even though it took me all summer to do the interviews and now to edit, and continues to take up energy and time, again, I'm finding new capacities for it. And but this was one of the channels that I wanted to nurture and honor and come back to, for sure, despite everything that was going on. And but that's what's been going on. Basically, there was a launch that I had planned before getting pregnant. I had planned a whole group membership, and that didn't pan out because I got pregnant. And the amount of energy that it took to simply keep moving forward was so shocking to me. It is very demanding to be pregnant. That's my experience. I'm sure I've read and have seen and heard that everybody's pregnancy journey is different. And, but for the most part, mine has been a lot of fatigue, less energy, a lot of morning sickness, and not just morning sickness, all day sickness sometimes. And so since planning this launch, and then also finding out my pregnancy and dealing with that, things have sort of stopped, because something that I realized about myself is that when I'm experiencing a transition, and it doesn't matter what type of transition it is, whether it's a big life transition or I'm transitioning from one task to another, it takes me a little bit of time. I need a little bit of wiggle room and time to transition from one thing to the other. And I don't know what it is. It just, I need to find, to make sure that my headspace, whatever I'm doing, transitions well into the next thing that I'm doing. And, um, and so what I'm going to talk about is how do we navigate or deal with unexpected moments, both joyful and but also might feel uncertain. And so that's what I want to talk to you today. I kind of went over sort of like what's been going on because since the pregnancy, I got pregnant in May, and since then, was it May? That's when I found out. And since then, I've been, uh, just figuring things out and taking my time doing so, and that's okay. Now we're in late September, almost October, so yes, definitely takes me time to um, transition and find new ways of being and living. But that's the main topic: is how to deal with unexpected moments, both uncertain and joyous, and just to catch you up, which kind of already did, which is what's been happening with me since the beginning of this year. I know how I've been dealing since this summer, everything everything that I am experiencing, all the newness. So you would think that, after finding out you're pregnant and finding out your husband lost his job, that you would be like, oh, we got to make some money. Let's go get that money, right? But the truth is, that couldn't be com- that couldn't be possible, at least for me. I think other people maybe. I'm sure there's like superhuman people out there who would have been like, oh, I'm pregnant, oh, I need to get things done. But that's just not me. I don't know, like it's just not. Again, I need time to process if I know, or if I'm currently in, if I know I'm going to be in a transition or currently in a transition, which I obviously, after you found out you're pregnant, it's like mind blowing whether you were planning it or not. And so it just takes a big toll on your mind to accept, to come back to reality, come back to the earth, and stay grounded. And so, in the process of finding that out, um, one of the first things that I did is to remember the moments of resilience. So that's tool number one that I want to share with you, or tip number one that I want to share with you, is that when you are, in a moment of transition, whether you planned it or not, or you were planning on, when I say planned on it or not, it means like maybe you're planning transitioning to a new job and you were able to get that new job, or you found out you're pregnant and you weren't planning on it, right? So whether you were forced into a transition or you created a transition for yourself that you have been planning for and looking forward to, it's still a transition. Transitions are still hard, regardless of whether they're planned or not. And so when you find yourself in these moments of transition, unexpected or not, tip number one is to remember your moments of resilience. Remember all the times that you've undergone some big shift or move, and how you came out of that, how you are still standing here today. If you're listening to this, like you went through that, and you obviously were able to navigate that situation and come out on the other side. And when you remember these moments of resilience, I for me they always create a sense of grounding, because it's a reminder again that you have the know-how and the wherewithal to understand how to navigate a situation that you've never navigated before. It helps to think about the people who helped you out in that moment, or who you had to lean on, or what type of people you tapped into to support you in those moments, whether they were formal or informal. Formal means maybe you seeked out therapy, or you seeked out a mentor, or you seeked out a counselor, or some sort of some human or resource that was able to help you process this circumstance or situation that you found yourself in. Informal are people like your family or your friends that you can call upon to again lean on during these moments of transition. And remember that you have a support system to to hold you together, to hold space for you in these moments. And that you still have that. They may look different, they may have changed, but make a list of the people in your life, both formal and informal, who you can lean on, and remember that you are always able to learn from the current situation, and that you can move in the right direction because you've done it before in the past. So remembering that moment of resilience, an example like of for that for me looked like recently with this layoff. You know, I went back to a moment in life where I was like the brokest I've ever been. Yeah. And it was during grad school. And I remember it was that summer in between the first and second year, me going back home and still trying to figure out how to pay for the remainder of, for about 2 months, like rent, because I wasn't going to be home, and the financial aid hadn't come through for me during that time, and I didn't have a job. And I didn't have any savings. So I was trying to figure out how can I make sure I pay my rent for the next 2 months, even though I wasn't going to be in that apartment, in that New York City apartment. But I had run out of my checking and savings, and the financial aid hadn't kicked in for the new semester. And so I was trying to figure that out. And I remember, I think I just put it on Facebook that I am leaving for 2 months. My apartment is available. And someone actually hit me up right away within the next day saying they would like to sublet my apartment. So, there's always solutions to circumstances and situations that feel like you're running out of time or running out of ideas or solutions. And sometimes those critical moments are the moments where we get the most creative and the most clear headed and take some action. So if you take action, great. If you're having a freeze response where you're kind of like, I don't know what to do, and you're melting and you're already catastrophizing, and by catastrophizing, meaning that you are making the situation worse than what it actually is, then the tip number 2 is have a trusted buddy or partner that you can call on to let them know that you are in a moment of panic, and to be there with you just to talk things through, even if it's just to rant, not to necessarily find a solution, but just to rant and just to express what the situation is, what is going on. And you can let them even know, you can even let them know, I'm not calling you to help me or provide a solution, but just to listen. Because sometimes that's really all we need, is to have someone that we can go to rant about our current situation and release the tension and stress that comes with that situation. So have a trusted or buddy that you can do that with. And I would even suggest that even in moments of calm, when you're not stressed, that you find someone that you can do that with and practice that with, sort of like a fire drill, and be that for each other. Be that for um, when you are not in moments of panic or stress, practice calling the trusted friend or family member and let them know this is a fire drill and I'd like to simply call you and let you know or text you that I'm just simply reaching out as a practice, as a action that I want to take, that for when I am in any sort of panic or distress mode, that I know at that moment what to do. And because if you just say it to yourself now, you probably, and you're actually in panic mode in those moments, you probably will forget to call a trusted friend or family member. So practice doing that when you're not in distress, and choose somebody, pick a trusted friend or partner, make sure they're on the game plan with you, and you can do that for each other, or someone that you really trust, again, that's a really good friend, and practice doing that even in moments of that are calm. And then the last thing that I want to share, tip number 3, is to meditate. So I've been talking a lot about meditation, even before I got pregnant. And I had a YouTube, I still have the YouTube channel. So if you go and look up BIPOC coaching on YouTube, you'll find a few YouTube videos on there. Sort of what kind of what took over um since the podcast, I guess, because I still really liked recording and editing, and adding video component to the content that I was creating was really fun. And this, again, if you're watching this, it's probably on YouTube. It will be on YouTube. And but earlier this year, I have been talking a lot about meditation. And meditation, I feel like it came at a time where it knew, like something in the universe knew that I was gonna need this tool, because I started doing it before I was pregnant, and I've been doing it and continue to practice it even now. And of course, it's just only benefited me. And when we found out about the layoff and the pregnancy all within 1 week, it was like, okay, how do we stay grounded? Like meditating almost daily. At that point, I was meditating almost daily. That really helped me to stay present and be in the moment. So meditation is a simple tool they can do for 5 minutes a day. And it's the practice of focusing and coming back to your body or to your breath, or any sort of sensation that's neutral, that helps you feel safe in your body. And even when we are in moments of stress or catastrophizing, and trying to not get into this mode of urgency, which can lead to anxiety or panic. And again, those are states of mind that can be difficult, but are ones that we can navigate. And meditation has been a tool for that for me. So if you can start that, just 5 minutes a day. There's free meditations on YouTube. But what I like to do is the Calm app. I actually paid for a yearly subscription earlier this year, and they have amazing tools and meditations, and so many to choose from: short, long, guided, less guided. And it has really helped me to remember that I can stay grounded, that I can stay present, that I can come back to this moment. And in those moments, there's nothing to figure out, there's nothing to stress about, but simply focusing on the breath. And you will be shocked at how calming that practice can be in these moments of uncertainty. So highly recommend meditation, starting with 5 minutes a day. I love to do it in the morning right after waking up because it's just a state of mind where I'm still sleepy, but I'm trying to become active or trying to level up my energy. But whether you choose to do it in the morning or at night before bed or in the middle of the day, whenever you have time to do it, just 5 minutes a day can really make a difference over time. So that's the last tip that I have for you is practicing meditation. I cannot recommend it enough. And I use the app Calm, which is a great uh, resource. And but of course, there's free meditations on YouTube. There's meditations on Spotify if you use Spotify, and you can find free meditations pretty much anywhere on the internet. You can even most likely look up free meditation on Google, and you'll find something most likely. And that's that's a big tool that I cannot recommend enough. So I hope that all of that was helpful and in catching you up with what's going on in my life. If you still are wondering what is going on with Be a Boss Coaching, I am in the process of pivoting and trying to figure out better messaging and more specific messaging for what I'd like to do with Be a Boss Coaching. And with this podcast, I still have my website. So if you still want to be part of this community, the best way to do that is to go on my website at beabosscoaching.com. You can sign up for my newsletter, and I will be completely transparent with you. I have not sent out a newsletter in so long. It's probably been like 2 months. I used to send one out weekly, but again, I'm in a state where I'm rethinking a lot of the work that I do with this new identity that I'm now in the process of cultivating, of being a mom, and what this feels like and looks like in my body. And in this season of expansion for me, there's a lot of expansion. And I believe now that expansion isn't just a season, it is happening constantly all the time. Like if you think about the universe is literally expanding every second and it continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I believe that now, after talking with all of my guests and reflecting on the summer and everything that I've been going through, and with my pregnancy and with my husband and my family and just everything that's been going on, I believe that expansion is just it's just happening all the time. It's just a matter of when do we get to notice it, and when we get to notice it, how does it feel and how do we navigate it? Because it's always there. It's just sometimes things are expanding very quickly and unfolding very, very quickly. Sometimes they're just expanding with small little seeds. And wherever you are in your expansion, know that there's always ways to navigate it. It's not always going to feel pleasant, but there's ways to create space for that expansion. There's ways to do that. So if you like this episode, please come back, leave a rating, and maybe screenshot it and tag me on Instagram at Be a Boss Coaching, or you can send me an email over at Beatriz, Beatriz at beabosscoaching.com, and let me know. I'm also taking questions. So I'd like to do an episode eventually where I answer people's questions about their entrepreneurship journey, any questions they have about mindset and healing as an entrepreneur, and some of the challenges that they're facing as they are stepping into an entrepreneurship path. And no question is a silly question, so come on over, and I'd love to have an episode where I have some answers. So thank you so much. I'm just so glad I was able to do this episode today. And you come back. Hopefully you come back next week. Next week I will be featuring the incredible Erica Dox Martinez, who is a financial and trauma informed money coach. She is an incredible person, just so much knowledge, so much to share, and she's just overall just, well, never met her in person, but I feel like I've known her. I mean, we have known each other for years. So you don't want to miss that conversation. Where again, we focus on the theme of expansion, and she shares her story and she shares how she's navigated her growth in her business and how her business has simply bloomed into something super powerful. So come on over next week. And I'd love to leave you with a question. So I believe I've been leaving every episode with a question for you to reflect on. So I would suggest that you journal it, or you can send me an email with your answer, or like how you've reflected on this question. But the question that I want to leave with you today is, how do you know that you are in a season of expansion? Do you notice that you are in seasons of expansion? Do you not? And will you make an effort to be more aware about your expansion? Will you put into practice any of the strategies we talked about today? So, how do you know when you're in a season of expansion? And I encourage you to journal about it, reflect on it, and you can always, again, let me know with an email, and I'd love to hear your answer. All right, thank you so much for being with me here today. If you've made it this far, thank you, thank you, thank you. Share with a friend, leave a rating or review, tag me on Instagram or LinkedIn, wherever you are, and that would be highly appreciated. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.